Welcome to On the Chain. This is Chip. Jeff is not going to join us today, although he may join us in the chat. You never know. But I wanted to say happy Saturday to everybody. And if you're coming in from another part of the world, you may already be into your Sunday or quickly approaching your Sunday. So welcome, everybody. Got a lot to talk about today. So the SEC apparently is demanding $770 million from Ripple. Why? Well, given the fact that they've gotten their ass kicked twice or three times now, it's 3-0. I'm going to say it's because they are trying to save face and they don't want the embarrassment. Also, some other crypto news going on today. Just lots to talk about. Let's jump into it, shall we? Let's do it. Let's go.
Welcome to On the Chain.
Welcome, everybody. Drop where you're coming in from into the chat. And if you're on the rewatch, go ahead and drop a comment. Where are you coming in from? Always love to know because there's always someplace that's something new to On the Chain. So great to see everybody that pops in here. So always lovely to see that as well. So go ahead and do that. And when we talk about all the things that are going on today, one of the coolest things that happened last week was, as you know, we minted or we put up for mint the Badass Yetis Blue Tribe, and we just released the Badass Yetis White Tribe. And what I wanted to do is just kind of take 1 second just to kind of talk a little bit about this, but it'll be quick and we'll jump right into it. But here you go right there. If you go over to XRP.cafe there, you'll see the big giant banner. There are those beautiful Yetis to take up. If you click over here, artwork by Badass Yetis over here, click on this, it'll take you over here to the Badass Yetis White Tribe, and I will go ahead and drop that in the chat here. Let's go ahead and drop it in the chat. There we go. Dropped in the chat there. Look at I'm looking at all these little badasses. I mean, amazing. There are 10 different clans that make up the Badass Yetis White Tribe, and I have heard so far that three of the 7 elders were minted. The elders are they're about 200 years old roughly, and there's only 7 of them in there, so they're super rare. And I'm trying to find one right now, but you just see kind of like a little bit of what's going on. There's a fire yeti right there. These guys can throw fire, pretty spectacular. But they're 45 XRP. Jump over there, go ahead and grab yourself one. They're fantastic. All kinds of different varieties over there. This one's a little bashful there. He's maybe shining up his sword there. Don't know exactly what's going on, but we put him in a lot of different poses, and yeah, it's really good. The Yuck Yucks, they bring the comic relief. As you can tell, they're a little bit funny. They're the jesters of the tribe. So I'll leave it at that. So go ahead and stop that right there. But let's talk about who are coming in from. We got Kelly Slade coming in from Orlando. We got Conrad, I'm not even saying that right. Just say Belgium is in the house. Dallas is in the house. Look at this. We've got a lot of folks coming in here. Look at this. Oh, Morgantown, West Virginia. Yeah, I went to school with somebody from Morgantown, so I know Morgantown pretty well. Not too far from Pennsylvania border there. South Australia. Where, Steve? Exactly, South Australia. That's like I was coming in for the southern part of the United States. Like, doesn't really tell me a lot. But go ahead. Kelly says hit those likes and all that. Hey, Chip, hanging out in Pasadena. Pasadena, Canada? Pasadena, California? Don't know exactly. Tallahassee, very good. Station C4. That's where got family up there in Tallahassee. So Cleveland in the house. Cleveland rocks. What's up, Mark? Good to see you today. And also we got Vero Beach, as always, holding down. South Florida Digital, always in here. South Africa, beautiful. South Africa's in the house. That's phenomenal. See Grim 37, Traverse City, Michigan. One of my favorite places in Michigan. I've been to Traverse City a couple times. Lived in Michigan for about 4 years, and I love Traverse City. If you guys have never been there, it's just a fun great little town. Haven't been there in years, but I'll have good to see that you are there. And let's talk about what's going on here. I wanted to jump into this whole well, before we get into the SEC news, I wanted to talk a little bit about this here, but let me jump in. Let me share my screen, peoples. Yeah, let's go. Here we go. So here it is. Ripple CEO takes a jab at former SEC official Bill Hinman. What's this all about? So, recently there was Brad Garlinghouse recently joked that he considered dressing as former SEC official Bill Hinman for Halloween. Comment, which has been shared on social media, took place at the CoinAlts 2023 conference, which happened over the last couple of days, and an event highlighting crypto and alternative investments. And I know Ray from Link2 was there, so I know he posted a couple photos. He had a picture of him and we're standing with Garlinghouse. That was pretty cool. Innocuous jest shows that the ongoing tensions between the Ripple's top executives and the former SEC officials. And so at the CoinAlts 23 conference, there was a lot of different firms like Harney's, which brought together some of the brightest minds in the crypto space. Scheduled for October 26, which already passed. The event promised enlightened panels, engaged discussions. And I know Garlinghouse spoke at one of these panels, which was interesting. Among those in attendance were also Ripple's was also Chief Legal Officer Paul Grewal and Garlinghouse both exchanged friendly Twitter banner prior to their experiences. And Grewal was addressing the Ripple CEO on X, humorously remarked that he was just warming up the crowd for Garlinghouse's later segment. And at the heart of Garlinghouse's jest about Hinman lies a history of serious allegations. And this has been pointed out by the entire crypto community. Like when we think about all the different folks that have talked about what's going on. I mean, you gotta really go with what I guess some of the crypto sleuths out there have uncovered with not only Bill Hinman, but also the improprieties with regards to the a certain speech that gave certain sort of clarity to, Ethereum, one of those type of speeches, but a lot going on around. John Deaton leading the charge in a lot of this and exposing that. There's a lot of other folks behind it. This Hinman docs, a center of the controversy, a collection of docs revealing the internal discussions between the SEC leading up to Hinman's 2018 speech. And if you think about this certain sort of speech that came down at the time, so many improprieties. Where do you even start? But this is going to be interesting the way this plays out, because I wonder what kind of significance this is going to have when these emails, because I mean, Judge Torres did talk about these emails and what they did have some relevance in the actual, I guess, as far as what they said. Now, we don't know how it would play a part here, but I have a feeling that when this goes to trial, I don't think the SEC is going to do so well. I mean, given the fact that it's 3-0, they basically got a hat trick playing against them. I don't have high hopes for them, but Garlinghouse contends that Hinman, during his tenure as a public servant, received significant payments from law firms that had vested interest in the outcome of the speech. Moreover, Garlinghouse previously suggested that the content of these documents could play a pivotal role in tipping the court value at the SEC, from which Ripple has now emerged victorious. And we all know that. Guys, what are your thoughts on this? Love to have you share your thoughts below as well, to see what you're thinking on this whole thing. But yeah, this I want to jump into this next portion of it. What's up, Happy? Look at coming in from Iceland. There's Oscar coming in. Beautiful. Got Vero Beach in the house. What else we have here? Edmonton, Alberta, Canada. There you go. What's up, Ray Run? What else do we have here? Yeah, it's about what we got. So the SEC, when you take it on the chin, or if you get throat punched the way the SEC has, and now we'll also talk a little bit about library, because Hester Peirce came out with her, I guess with her rebuttal, if you will, her dissent. She came out with a dissent a little bit late, but again, she came out with a dissent. It's like another strongly worded letter that I disagree wholeheartedly. It's all getting kind of ridiculous. And we've coined a new phrase here, and it wasn't me. It was Crypto G. And I don't know if Crypto G's in here, but Crypto G coined a beautiful phrase that we may just be adopting at this point, but we'll get into it as it comes out later in the show. But I wanted to talk a little bit about this whole thing with the SEC demanding the $770 million. I don't know where they got that figure from. I know where they got the figure from, but it's a little bit surprising given the fact that they're just, it reminds me of that Monty Python bit, that skit where, it's chopped off his arms and he still keeps coming, and they chopped off his other arm, they chopped off his legs. It's like this is the SEC. They're just hobnobbled. They're down to their last, whatever. They're taking a quick shot and they're trying to land a punch, and they're trying to go out with a bang so they can say, we won, we were victorious, we got the fine with $770 million. But ultimately, we know the SEC is going to lose because they're eternal losers whose main tenet is to protect the little guy, the investors. But they took it as protecting the institutional investors because they don't care about you. They don't give a rat's behind about you. They only care about protecting their pals over at the big investment banks, and anybody else, well, who cares? Who are you? Nobody really cares. But they've asked for the $770 million fine and a final settlement in the XRP suit. Let's jump into this a little bit. New developments in the Ripple SEC case. SEC demands, seeks to settle this case for $770 million. Attorney, SEC is pissed and embarrassed. Legal experts agree. Ripple and Brad Garlinghouse hold the upper hand in dictating the terms of the settlement. And it's interesting to see, a lot of people have speculated, well, they'll probably settle. Well, do you think that Ripple really wants to pay $770 million? I'm going to go with no. Do you think they want to pay $100 million? Probably not. So what is it going to be? I mean, they're going to split the difference here. They're at odds. So a lot of people have speculated, well, there's definitely going to be a settlement. That's always possible, right? And you think that after losing 3-zip, getting their hand smashed 3 times by the proverbial metal ruler that came down and slammed them by the Judge Torres and others, you kind of just think that they would, peacefully just kind of like see if they could settle this thing and kind of get out. But no, they want to get out, trying to save some face and have some type of a win. And here we go right here. Matata Unu says 770 million too much. Yeah, I can't agree more. It's a little bit too much. Hester is a gatekeeper. There you go. There's some opinion. Only 17 likes. Come on, Adam Sand says. Let's go. Let's get going, people. Yeah, click that, guys. It really does help the channel. As a presenter, as doing a YouTuber, believe me, we hate saying it. You go on every video, it's like, please hit the likes and subscribes. It really helps the channel. But unfortunately, that's the way the algorithm works. And so the more likes, the more comments you get. It's funny. You can just make an emoji comment and it helps. It's not something we like to do. It's something we loathe, absolutely. But always appreciate it when someone like Adam says, come on, only 17 likes. Thank you for that support, Adam. Appreciate that. You guys are always big supporters, but sometimes, when I'm watching a video, it's like, hit the likes, and I'm like, all right, I've heard it a million times, and then I'll click it. But half the time, even people that I watch all the time, and again, you would think that I watch a lot of crypto videos. The real truth of it is, I don't watch a lot of crypto videos. I actually watch a lot of van life type videos where people are traveling. I got my favorite YouTubers that I have been following for years. And also, I am very steeped in the AI world. So I watch an incredible amount of AI content. And they're always saying, hit the likes and subscribe and blah, 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 blah. And if you like the channel and all that, yeah, I get it. But the fact is, we lost 300 subs over the past, let's see, a couple of months. And we review our last 30, 40 videos. We only lost 1 or 2. So what are people watching videos from 3 years ago and then unsubscribing? Or people just going randomly to the channel unsubscribing? Because it tells you the video that they actually watched or clicked on they unsubscribe from. A lot of them could be bots. Maybe YouTube's eliminating bots. I don't know. Jeff and I haven't been able. Here's what we have ascertained, though. We have started broadcasting over on Rumble. I didn't get the Rumble broadcast started this morning. Was just running a little bit late. But here's what we're doing. We're doing 1 show a week over on Rumble. That's Wednesday night. I believe that's going to quickly morph to 2 times. Why? Because the views are already getting very close. We only have 400 people over there, and we've got 25,000 subscribers on YouTube. Meanwhile, the views are almost the same. So what does that mean? That means that very quickly we're finding a really good audience of like-minded people, people who believe in freedom, decentralization, who believe in the better things in life, very similar to the way we believe, you and I believe. So that's what I'm going to say about that. But as I always get derailed, and that's kind of the nature of this show, we will kind of get off track from time to time. Here we go. So Navigating the legal maze. They talk a little bit about the court. John Deaton, staunch supporter, pro XRP attorney, um, provided further insights into the complexities surrounding the lawsuit. He mentioned that the SEC is pissed and embarrassed and wants 77 million worth of flesh. Usually you hear that it's 77 million pounds of flesh, because it's just they want something. They want to be able to, they want a head on a stake. They want to be able to beat their chest a little bit and say, look at this over here. Forget about everything else. We certainly went after Ripple and we took him down with a fine. So, and John Deaton reiterated, says, as I said on Crypto Law US TV, with Jeremy Hogan, which if you hadn't seen that in Thinvu, and I don't know if I'm pronouncing her name right, but his lovely wife, which I had the great pleasure of meeting up at the proper pre-party. That was a phenomenal event put together by Mr. McDermott. I have to say that was just an outstanding event that he put together. Great people, but this conversation is fantastic. And if you really want to watch a great one, it's one of the better episodes. And John Deaton puts together amazing episodes, but I just love the banter back and forth between John Deaton and Hogan and Hogan. So I just love it. Jeremy makes a really interesting prediction on there as well. But what he says, he doesn't believe there's been a single serious conversation regarding a settlement between Ripple, Brad Garlinghouse, Chris Larson, and the SEC. And what people need to understand is that the penalty phase is like a second case requiring depositions, interrogatories, requests for production of documents, emails, bank statements, contracts, all of the on-demand liquidity transactions, etc. So Ripple wants to drastically reduce the $770 million by trying to exclude the on-demand liquidity transactions, reduce salaries, expenses, costs. The SEC sought $23 million from Library.com. It took 8 months of additional litigation before the judge ultimately issued a fine of, yes, $130,000. So it got reduced quite a bit. We went from 23 million down to 130. And this judge too, interesting in the Library case, that judge just was a little bit off track, off kilter a lot, just really missed the boat on a lot of this. So to me, it was actually a little bit surprising, but there had to be a little bit of empathy there because the SEC just went down and destroyed a company. And a lot of it had to do with, like I said, I think the judge was instrumental in a lot of this as well, just not understanding blockchain. It's complex and it's not for the young at heart, I guess, or I should say the old at heart in this case. But I think a lot of people trip up on the I'm trying to say this in a way, the finer things. People always want to attribute blockchain to criminality and Bitcoin and terrorism and right? So it always goes down that route when there's so much more at stake for we the people and our own, the fact that we can decentralize governments, that we can bring AI and decentralization together. And it just eliminates a lot of people. And a lot of the people it eliminates and are fighting for their life are the elites, right? We can talk more about that in just a little bit. So John Deaton goes on to say he doesn't expect the final judgment issued by Judge Torres until late summer. At the earliest, it could literally take a full year before an appeal is filed in the case. And if Coinbase wins their motion to dismiss, then I believe the SEC will be forced to pivot its anti-crypto agenda. Surprisingly, there's not enough to pivot now, but Deaton's making a great point here is that, if it goes the way, if basically they get taken out with the whole Coinbase, then of course you're pretty wounded, right? They're on their last leg, and their last leg is pretty much broken after that. So it says if Coinbase loses its motion to dismiss, then I predict no settlement. January 17, 2024 is the oral arguments on the Coinbase motion. A ruling is likely to be 60 to 120 days later. And until then, I think Ripple will continue to spend tons of millions of dollars in legal fees fighting to greatly reduce that $770 million. And I agree wholeheartedly with that. I definitely think they're going to attempt to remove that. I definitely think that, and guys, if you guys can take care of, there does seem to be a spammer in there that's in there. So if there's any mods, go ahead and please take care of that. I do see a long post right there. Kelly's saying that Elizabeth Warren seems to be more concerned about the banks. Would love to see her stock portfolio. Yeah, it's so funny because Are you voting on the interest of the people you represent? No. Are you voting on your own interest? Probably. So what they're always trying to protect are their own interests here. So that's a really good point there, Kelly. It's like absolutely they're trying to protect the banks. The incumbents, the banks, they're always the ones that are going to be demanding. And let's face it, I'm not anti-bank by any means. I think banks serve a great role. I think that if banks had the ability when Brian Brooks had come out and said that banks could custody crypto. Can you imagine how easy it would be if you could buy crypto from your bank and log into your banking app? I've said this a million times, but it really does play into how you're not going to change the banking industry overnight. You'll be like, we don't need banks. Now, recently, Elon Musk has come out and made a bold prediction saying that X, which formerly Twitter, you will no longer need a bank. Everything will be taken care of on X. So he's talked about this for some time, wanting to turn into a financial platform. Well, that remains to be seen on how that looks, or how, of course, he's been suggested, why don't you use this crypto, or why don't you use XRP or Cardano or whatever's in the mix. What he may end up using is all of those, right? He may end up being the point of where he'll be agnostic and you'll be able to choose exactly how you make a payment or what you do with the payment. But banks serve a purpose. And the biggest purpose I see banks serving is bringing the mass adoption to the people. If you log into your banking app and says, would you like to purchase crypto? I would. Would you like to keep it secured at the bank? I would. And if the FDIC would offer the same sort of 250,000 guarantee per bank account that they do with fiat currency, I could see a big game changer. I could see a lot of people adopting it. People trust banks, right? And banks backed by the FDIC, which allows them, of course, if they all fail at the same time, the FDIC is not going to be able to protect everybody. But I do think there's a lot of opportunity there that people want to write banks off. We don't need banks. Listen, we all use banks. Banks are going to change their business model. They largely have over the years. A lot of their fees used to come from playing on the underserved, the underprivileged, which would basically overdraw their account, and they would get these mindless $35, $45, $50 charges that would go after them. It was one thing Elizabeth Warren did stand up against was these fees against banks, but she's done very little in this regard. For the little guy and how they're really thinking. So I think that's something to talk about. Made from Toffee says the SEC should be giving Ripple $770 million. Can't understand how you could lose so badly and still demand money. Well, when you're dealing with the government, you can lose and lose and lose and lose, but the government that's supposed to represent the people no longer looks that way, and everything starts to look more like the isms, fascism, socialism, you name the ism, and they all are starting to turn that way. So what else do we have here? Let me see. Mike says big conflict of interest, especially when you get kicked back. That's true too. We all wonder, and if we know what's going on in the FTX case with Sam Bankman-Fried right now, well, what do we know? Well, we do know that a lot of politicians were on the dole. So what was happening was the U.S. Congress was passing a bill that would then go fund a country. Again, you got to be careful here what you say. Would fund a country, and this so-called country that's engaged in a war with another country would then funnel money back into FTX, and then FTX would then funnel money back into the politicians' campaigns and pocketbooks and everything else. And the weird thing about that is that most of them didn't give any of the money back, and you had both, on both sides. I think there's one Republican, one Democrat. Now, more may have. I've yet to see an official release on who has actually given that money back. But these are the kind of kickbacks you're talking about, Mike. It's like this conflict of interest, right? It's a big conflict of interest. You go ahead, and when you think about it, when that money was sent over to that country, were there any sort of, measures in place to track that money? No. But I guarantee you put that on the blockchain and you make every single bit of that accountable, and then you see where the money actually goes. Well, to me, it's just a massive money laundering scheme. And this is what governments do, right? Whether it's a Congress over here in the States, whether it's whatever your governing body looks like in your country, it's the same thing, right? They always have their self-interest in there. They'll vote for stuff that they know is coming right back, right? And this massive this massive call for World War III, puts a lot of money and fuels a lot of money in certain people's pockets. And I can tell you who pockets it's not yours, but they want your sons and daughters and your mother, your father. They want you to go fight a war somewhere, but they're never going over there themselves. And I think the easiest way to go ahead and do that is, like, if you want to vote for that, you're on the first plane, boat, train, whatever, to the front line. And also your entire family is going to go too, because you believe so strongly in it that I think your whole family should join you, right? It's only right. But it's easy to volunteer other people to go fight. And what are we really fighting for in the end anyway? It doesn't, it really calls for some there we go. BZ here. Morning. Got the day off. Got to watch South Park, wreck Disney, and cook a steak. All right, BZ. Appreciate that. We got Iron Man XRP says, I still don't understand the fact that they have to settle with them after losing in court. Well, you have to remember that this phase of the settlement has to do with the fact that Judge Torres ruled that XRP, as sold on the exchanges, because it was blind bid, you didn't really know who you were buying for. You could have been buying from, one of us that was selling. You got market makers and takers. It could have been the exchange itself that was selling, but it could have been Ripple in the back end. You didn't know. You didn't know you're purchasing. Again, it voids some of the tenets of the Howey, the four prongs of the Howey test. And so this phase of it has to do with the fact that, yes, Judge Torres did say that institutional investors was an investment contract. And yes, that's what they're getting penalized for. So and that's never going to happen again, where you'll be able to buy directly from Ripple. You saw this big recent announcement with Uphold and Ripple, and that's going to be the underlying liquidity. But what else does that do? So Uphold's tied to like 20 some, I want to say 25 plus different exchanges, and it's going to create that liquidity on the bottom. So they'll be able to buy it from Uphold. You'll be able to get that. And who deserves it more than Uphold? Uphold's the only one that didn't bend the knee to the SEC. They're the ones that said, hey, until we hear that XRP is a security, why would we change our business practice, when everybody else rolled over and just collapsed quicker than you could say hello, because of the weak-minded, feeble-minded cowards that they were. And that's just how it was. People were feared of being sued by the SEC. And unfortunately, that's kind of how it kind of came down. Well, here's so Steve Walker says Deaton needs to start a class action suit against the SEC on behalf of XRP investors. 770 million should cover it. Unfortunately, the way it works is you are not able to file that suit against there's certain protections around the SEC, and going and claiming money. I mean, would I love it? Yeah. What about the $12 billion, $15 billion that was erased by the filing of this lawsuit? Do I agree with it? No, but unfortunately, the SEC has protections. I know John Deaton's talked about this extensively, but you can't go after. It's not like a private company you can go after and say, hey, there's some states here in the US where if you bring a lawsuit and you lose in court, you have to not only pay the fine, but you have to pay the other person's legal fees. So what does that do? It cuts down on, just ridiculous litigation. People sue people for all kinds of stuff. Well, here's the thing. I've been in business. I've been dragged into court. You got to represent yourself. You're going to spend a lot of money on attorneys, and eventually, it gets dropped or it goes to trial or whatever. And guess what? You just blew a ton of money. Now it's great. When the other person loses, they're going to think twice about bringing a lawsuit. And I think that's cut down heavily on frivolous, just suing people. Yep, that's right. Kelly's got it right there. Uphold is Ripple's workaround, and it's brilliant, and nobody deserves it more than Uphold. They were the staunch supporter, and they did not cower. They did not bend the knee. And guess what? They deserve to be there. So BZ says, what does Jungle Inc. dislike Uphold? Why does he dislike? I'm not sure. I don't know that he does. I talk to Jungle pretty often. I don't know why he dislikes it. I have not heard that, but maybe he does. I don't know. And then Kelly says some people have had issues with Uphold, just like some people have had issues with Coinbase. Yeah, they have had issues, but again, I think that the way Uphold's thinking about it. The other part about Uphold too, and I'll say this about BitTrue as well. BitTrue also an early supporter of the XRP community and the digital token XRP, along with Uphold. They tweet often about it, but they always are constantly adding a lot of different alts as well. So they're pretty good in that regard as well. Yeah, he heard him stated a few times. I'll talk to Jungle about it, and I'll get back to you. How about that? How about that, BZ? Does that work for you? I think it does. Let's jump through. What else we have here? So John Deaton weighs a little bit more on this here. He says, I believe Ripple will be successful in cutting the 700 million figure down drastically. This isn't a fraud case. The goal is to reach an appropriate fine against Ripple for engaging in transactions that qualified for the sale of unregistered securities, but sold in the context of a new asset that other federal agencies declared virtual currencies. And this is a very good fact. A lot of people sort of forget this. And if you're kind of new to this, you're not remembering back in 2015 with FinCEN, but John Deaton sort of takes us through it. A history lesson here. 2013, Chris Larson met with the SEC, the Treasury, Federal Reserve, CFTC, and others explaining how Ripple was using XRP to solve banking issues. Now, I'm not a mathematician here, but that's 10 years ago, right? 10 years ago, he's meeting with the SEC, the Treasury. And I know people change and chairs change. Bottom line is Ripple was always very transparent and out in front of this at all times. 2014, this is the what is this? US.GAO described XRP as a virtual currency utilized in decentralized payment system called Ripple. 2014. 2015, FinCEN and the Department of Justice settled with Ripple, declaring XRP a convertible virtual currency and forced Ripple to comply with banking laws, not security laws. And do you think this is going to come up? Do you think any of this is going to come up? Oh, yeah. You can bet your ass this is coming up as a defense, right? 2015, 8 years ago, so you have two government agencies, right? The Department of Justice in the US, you got FinCEN. Both of them levied the fine against Ripple was fined. And if they're declaring it a convertible virtual currency and they want them to comply with banking laws, they weren't worried about security laws. Okay. So is this going to come up? Yeah. 2019, the FSOC's annual report signed by every important financial leader in the US, including Jay Clayton as SEC chair, as well as Jerome Powell at the time, was the Federal Reserve chair and Secretary of Treasury, stated XRP along with Bitcoin, Ethereum, and Litecoin were virtual currencies, gaining in market capitalization. That's 4 years ago. And of course, in 2018, we got the Hinman speech, and the internal emails predicted that the speech will cause greater confusion to market participants, like Ripple. And in 2018, a day before Hinman's speech, the SEC enforcement lawyers wrote an XRP Howey memo analyzing whether XRP was a security. These enforcement lawyers did not recommend that Ripple stop selling XRP, nor did they recommend any enforcement action. Clearly, they couldn't determine themselves that XRP wasn't a security. In fact, the SEC lawyers could own and trade XRP up into 2019. Now, I see this as being majorly significant, right? So here you are alleging that somehow Brad and Chris, they were reckless, but the SEC was alleging that Ripple was also reckless and selling unregistered securities, and they should have known better. But apparently, if you worked for the SEC up until 2019, you could also own and trade XRP. So this is a little bit hypocritical. I would say a lot hypocritical. And do you think this is going to be mentioned? Oh, yeah, this is coming up. So, I mean, imagine you're a jury and you're hearing this and you're like, oh, wait a minute, what? None of this makes any sense. And this is how most of the stuff in the world goes today, because none of this shit makes sense. None of this makes sense. Most of the time you're thinking like, okay, you almost need a gut check. It's like, has the world gone crazy? The answer is a resounding yes. The world has gone crazy, but not all of us. And I still think the majority are people who love their family. They love freedom. They love freedom of speech. They want to be left alone. They just want to go on with their life, but they just can't because everybody has to get in their face with a lot of nonsense. What is that nonsense? That's what I talk about on the Rumble channel. That's what Jeff and I will talk about on Rumble. And he goes on to say that I don't think Judge Torres will be out to hurt Ripple with these facts. And I love that he calls them facts because that's exactly what they are. They are facts. Let me take a little bit of coffee break here. And by the way, you're probably wondering, geez, I wonder what Chip's drinking here today. Well, I can tell you it's Badass Yeti's Obsidian Bold, BadassYetisCafe.com. You can go over there. It's also inside of the description below there. If you can check out that description over there on YouTube, you can see that. But it's great coffee. And what's amazing and what's different about it is that most of the time you get beans. And again, Jeff and I are coffee snobs, as we call ourselves, but we love coffee. The darker, the richer, the bolder, the better. Stovetop, Italian coffee maker, the best way to make it. That really, and Mike Morath is a big fan of this methodology. And also, I would say Mike has been a huge supporter of the coffee as well. He's really liked it. But the thing is, the difference is a lot of times, the funny thing is, I actually had a sealed can of some Ely, which is not bad coffee. It's not as good as Segafredo, but I had a sealed can. I opened it up because I didn't place my orders in time for my Badass Yeti's coffee. The beans were such dried out. You bite into them, it didn't have that sort of crispness, that sort of wetness to it. And even when I grind the Badass Yeti's coffee bean, it gets stuck to the sides, right? It's super fresh. The other one popped right out. There was like nothing left in there. I ground it out and I was like, that's interesting. Why? Because it's all dried out. Badass Yeti's coffee is basically roasted and then sent out immediately. That's why we recommend you get the beans. They're roasted. Your order comes in, they're roasted that day, sent out to you the next day. So you're getting fresh roasted beans. Enough of that. Let's jump on, move on. We got so much more to get to. And one of the things that I wanted to bring to light here is that Elizabeth Warren, she wrote this big letter, and one of the things she asserted was that, once again, Hamas was using crypto to fund the tune of like $800 million, over $700 million that they were using. And again, playing into that narrative of the left and of the blue team that crypto bad. Meanwhile, fiat currency, it will take probably 100 years before crypto gets anywhere near to catching up to the illegal doings of fiat currency, but that's okay. Don't mention that. And this letter was based on a report that came out that was by Elliptic that was absolutely wrong. They got it wrong. They did correct the record, but Paul Grewal, who's the general counsel for Coinbase, came in and said, and he was commenting on the Elliptic, which they went ahead and set the record straight on the crypto crowdfunding by Hamas. Basically, they were looking at the wallet. They were looking at basically the exchange, not the actual wallets. And it turned out to be less than $500 million, or not 500 million, $500,000 in funding, 400 and change, not this multi-million dollars they were originally claiming. And so he says in the fog of war, journalistic mistakes happen, but the Wall Street Journal's own source just rejected its reporting on illicit financing. So the Wall Street Journal then took Elliptic, wrote the source, then Congress had multiple people signing. And I was surprised by shocked by the people that signed that, especially by John Kennedy, who's been a pretty good supporter of crypto, signed that letter. Most of it was on the blue team. There were some red team participants on it. But then you had all these people in Congress jumping on the bandwagon. Turns out the Wall Street Journal still didn't retract. Well, some people will say they did, but I'll go on to show you they didn't retract it. But the Wall Street Journal wrote this whole bitter article about how crypto's bad and how Hamas leveraged crypto for financing. It's not tracking. Well, I hate to break it to you, but if you use pallets of fiat currency, let's say US dollars, you're not going, unless it's marked, the dollars are actually marked, you're gonna be able to get rid of that stuff to your heart's content. If you're using the blockchain, it's all trackable, right? So you can find the wallets, you can eventually find out where that came from, you can track people. So this whole narrative that the blockchain is done in secret and nobody knows and it's not trackable, it's far more trackable. There is a paper trail. The blockchain is the trail, and you can find out where this is. And most of the time, the people that do commit the fraud or whatever, they are found out, right? Because right now the US government's one of the biggest holders of Bitcoin. And how did they recover that Bitcoin? By tracking down the so-called evildoers, the bad people that did all this stuff. So that to me is something pretty interesting. What am I seeing here? Kelly Warren didn't want to hear it. Paul Barron just did an excellent video on the committee meeting the other day. Yeah, Paul's great. Paul does a lot of great videos. and breaking down exactly what happens. And Paul does it full time. And if I were doing it full time, I bet you we would be able to do some more videos too. But this is a side hustle hobby. Again, the reason we're moving over to Rumble is because the engagement. The fact is that we can probably grow a lot quicker, and we don't have to censor ourselves. And I don't have to think twice about it. It was a little bit giddy the other day doing the Wednesday show over on Rumble because Jeff and I were just, we don't have to have that barrier where I have to always wonder what word should I use, and sometimes you'll see me trip up because I don't know what to say because there's a certain bunch of words you can say and a certain bunch of words you can't say. And is that fun? No. That's why I believe in platforms that are about free speech. X seems to be more about it these days with Elon Musk taking it over. Rumble seems to be a lot about it. So that's one of the big things there that I will say. Nick Carter did an excellent sort of an overview. He said the Wall Street journalists Angus Berwick and Ian Talley, and this is funny because John Deaton has hammered Ian Talley on this one. They read a flurry of articles citing elliptic data claiming that the Hamas affiliate raised 93 million in crypto, and then it cites the BitOK claiming Hamas raised 41 million. Then Senator Warren uses the article to claim that Hamas raised over 130 million in crypto. And this article was her sole citation in her letter. The entire letter depends on the Wall Street Journal article. Then you had over 100 members of Congress which signed the letter and then asked the Biden admin to further crack down on crypto. And then Chain Analysis comes out with an article disputing the Wall Street Journal claims, saying that instead of 82 million of Terra Finance, the real figure is around 450,000. It's unclear which wallets they're referring to. Either way, it looks like the Wall Street Journal analysis vastly overstated. Then the Wall Street Journal refuses to follow up or retract, instead writing more articles relying on their claims. It's pretty pathetic. And it was good that Elliptic did go ahead and create, sort of set the record straight, which I like. They put a whole article on it. And then what happens? Well, then we have this right here. This is ridiculous. But let's see here. Hang on a second. Here we go. So this is the Wall Street Journal right here. Wall Street Journal source. There is no evidence to support the assertion that Hamas has received significant volumes of crypto donations. I'm sorry, not a retraction. Paul Grewal says barely a retraction when your source maintains there's no evidence to support the Wall Street Journal assertions, saying that the PIJ may have used crypto isn't just inaccurate, but it's unacceptable. Wall Street Journal's lead still maintains that the funding supported Hamas attacks hinged on one answer: cryptocurrency. There's no evidence of that. Wall Street Journal knows it. Here's their lead. Look at the lead right here. So hang on a second. What happened to it? There we go. I don't know what's going on. Not playing nice today. Here it is. Yeah, Hamas lightning strike on Israel last week and raised the question of how the group financed the surprise operation. One answer, cryptocurrency. One answer. How about the real one answer? Incorrect. So no, it didn't work out that way. And let's say we all know that it's true that let's say what we all know is true, so that we stop it. Greenbacks issued by the United States and other sovereign currencies are terrorist financing vehicle of choice. What I just said earlier, right? That's always going to be the choice because you can't track it, because there is no blockchain, and because people aren't talking and dead men never talk. So there you go. Let me see what else do we have here. How we doing on time? Let's see what we got on time here. I wanted to play this Case for America, consumer action. Consumer action. Let me put this up on the screen here. But this is Case. Their consumer action for a strong economy, the free market voice for America's consumers. Likes equal bookmarks. So there you go. So they put out an amazing ad, and I wanted to go ahead and just play that ad right now. But I think this is pretty significant, because what they've done is that on Sunday here in the United States, they have, here we go. Sorry, I gotta select the right one here. But in the Sunday shows, that's the Sunday TV shows. They happen Sunday morning here. They happen on the 3 major networks. I don't know who watches it anymore. It's all leftist garbage. It's just propaganda. But anyway, we always see, both of the teams always appear on there, and they're always peddling some kind of new propaganda, talking points across all of them. But what's happened here is Case bought time on these Sunday shows, and they might even bought time in 60 Minutes. I don't know, but here it is right here. Let's watch this. It's very short, but again, really well done.
Bill Bankman-Fried was arrested and criminally charged with one of the biggest financial frauds in American history. Meanwhile, Wall Street multi-millionaire turned SEC Chairman Gary Gensler held multiple meetings with SBF while this fraud was happening. Now, Gensler refuses to answer to Congress.
You refuse to be transparent with Congress regarding your interactions with FTX and Sam Bankman-Fried.
Why won't Gensler answer Congress's questions? What is he hiding?
Brilliant. What is he hiding? And if you look here, check it out right here. So look at the meetings that transpired. October 21, Gensler and Sam Bankman-Fried. Now, if you think about it, what has been, what's been the assertion from Gary Gensler? Well, they were offshore. They were an offshore company based in the Bahamas. Right? This is Gary Gensler's sort of his defense. So why is Gary Gensler, in fact, meeting with Sam Bankman-Fried, who had this offshore exchange called FTX, right? They had a U.S. Subsidiary of it, and they also had an international, but they were based out of the Bahamas. March of 22, Gensler and Sam Bankman-Fried meet. December of 22, Sam Bankman-Fried indicted, right? And these are the two public ones we know about. I still think there may be, I believe there was a push to sort of get some that weren't published. I believe he met more times. That's yet to be proven, but these are the two times we know about, which is interesting. And then here, it's interesting. You have, time and time again. Now, what do we get sick of? Well, I'm going to write a really strong worded letter to tell Gary Gensler that you have to, or we're going to subpoena him. Just subpoena him now. Drag his ass in the court. Make him turn over the documents. Why are we waiting 6 months and everyone's writing? I'm going to write a really strongly crafted letter. And meanwhile, this jackass just skates, right? Doesn't care about you, doesn't care about the American people, doesn't care about the institution or even the agency he works with called the SEC, doesn't give a rat's ass about compliance with anything, right? Congressional compliance, nothing. He's the king. He'll do what he wants. And it's funny, they even pick up this there's this one here where they must have caught him laughing at some point. Grinning. SEC Chair Gensler, answer Congress's questions about your meetings with SBF. So I love this, almost like he's laughing at us, because he is. No, he is. But this is a phenomenal ad. It's up on Twitter, you guys, or X, I should say, but you guys should definitely go retweet that, repost it. Gosh, I can't get out of that Twitter vernacular. It's just too much. Then what happened right behind? What did we see happen next? Well, I want to put this up on the screen, but Hester Peirce came out with talking about the library case, some overdue thoughts on our case against the library, right? And we know that was just a disgrace. It really was, right? And one thing I want to bring up right now, and I don't know if Crypto G's in here, but maybe he'll watch this in the rewatch, but I want to give credit where credit's due, right? So what do we always refer to Hester Peirce as, right? She's known as Crypto Mom, right? Because she's been a huge advocate for cryptocurrency. She's always dissenting. She never agreed with Clayton. By the way, when the vote came down to sue Ripple, Clayton had the votes. Clayton was the third vote. It could have been a 3-2 vote, but he voted apparently to go ahead and go after Ripple. And you had Eli Roisman and you had Hester Peirce were the two that said no. But a lot of times, like what Jeff and I said back then, maybe the quickest path to clarity and absolute clarity is this lawsuit. And it turned out to be true. Now, we didn't think it was going to take 2.5 years, but the bottom line is, where's the only clarity right now in crypto market in the United States? Bitcoin and XRP. That's the only clarity we have, right? That neither are a security. That's all the clarity we have. It took this lawsuit to happen. We still don't have Congress acting. So, you can view it as a bad thing. You can view it as an unfortunate thing, but you can view it as something that wasn't great, turned out with a phenomenal outcome. So I'll look at it like that. So she wrote a whole dissent on this whole thing. Crypto G asserted this. I want to throw this up here because this is his. He said, Hester Peirce equals crypto stepmom. She wants you to call her mom, but she really doesn't love you. So he had shared that with me, and I thought that's just brilliant, right? She called her crypto stepmom because she wants you to call her mom, but she really doesn't love you. I thought that was hilarious. Thank you for that right there. So she wrote this whole big thing about the statement and how it was troubling and blah blah blah. Let's write a strongly worded letter that I disagree. Who cares? Great. We always know, crypto mom, crypto stepmom. We know how you feel. We know you've been a big supporter. If Hester Peirce was indeed the commissioner of the SEC, none of this would have happened, right? So, but still, would Congress have acted? Will we still have clarity? No, we wouldn't have lawsuits. But again, at least if anything else, Ripple has clarity with the token XRP utilizing it, right? But if Hester Peirce was in charge, yeah, she might have gone around, put some things forth, but we would still be waiting for clarity. We'd still be in 2023, heading into 2024 with zero clarity, regardless of how it looks, right? Jeremy Kauffman, who is the ex-CEO, as he writes on his bio on X, thanked Hester Peirce, said, "Thank you for writing this. While I wish you had said something earlier, as we all would have, I appreciate that you've done something now. It wasn't fair to attack Library, to attack you specifically when you're doing more, when you're doing better than any other commissioner, so don't feel bad." So there you go. So a little bit too little, too late. I don't think it would have made any difference. Gary Gensler is on his own mission to destroy all of crypto. He could care less of what's going on. Let me do a time check here. I wanted to get into some of these other things here. I saw this by Craig DeWitt put this out here. He said, I'm still proud to be American. And what I did was I basically reposted this and I removed the still. I just said, I'm proud to be American. Just like we should all be proud of the countries that we're from, whether you're from South Africa, Australia, Croatia, be proud of the country. Be proud of who your country is and what your country stands for. And be proud of all the culture and be proud of the food and just the human beings and people that toil before you to get you where you are. The same way I'm proud to be American, proud to be where you're from, right? And we're also proud to be big fans of decentralization. So I love the fact that he wrote this. He put on there, proud of what exactly? He said, don't let the demoralization campaigns get you down. Take a few minutes and remind yourself of what's truly amazing about the US. So here was the Declaration of Independence, a great document here in itself. And I wrote this and I'm like, hey, while you're at it, read the Constitution. It's the only constitution in the entire world of any government that actually tells the government what it can't do. It tells the government you cannot do this and gives that freedom to people. Now, a lot of this has been lost recently because of the left and this massive woke mind virus that's seeped into almost every ounce of being. You can't even just do anything anymore and enjoy your life without you being punched in the face with some stupidity of something out there. But this Constitution, so something gets passed. We recently had laws passed over in California that were later retracted, right? You're going after the guns and saying, oh, you can't do this, you can't do that. Sorry, protected by the Second Amendment. Limits, you cannot, this is, again, tells the government what it can't do, tells the states what it can't do. So a big deal right there. Let's see, I think there's one other comment here. Paul Burke Jr. says, I'm proud to have found Ripple. Okay, very good. What else do we have here? Neil Hartner, who happens to be the senior staff engineer at Ripple working on on-demand liquidity, put this up. I thought this was fun. He said, I'm at the Leaning Tower of Pisa. I expected a little bit more lean. So, sorry, that's the Eiffel Tower, but that was funny. I thought that got a good laugh out of that. Angie went ahead and fixed it for him and said, hey, how's that? And he's like, I see it now. Retired Young said, the trick is to drink. And once you've seen it leaning, you know when to stop. And Neil Hartner put this out. I know what I'll have to do, but I don't know if I'll have the strength to do it. And it's so funny because this is the actor that Neil reminds me of. So he put this up. He kind of reminds me of this actor. Now, his name escapes me. You guys can throw it in the chat from the Star Wars film. For some reason, I don't remember his name, but that's who he sort of reminds me of. So it's funny that he actually chose that to talk about. And then we have what else do we have here? I thought I had something else. I want to talk a little bit about this too. Emi Yashikawa, who is a Ripple Web3 and crypto VP of strategy over there. She put this out, thought this was interesting. She said the next World Expo, the one in Expo 2025, is going to take place in Osaka, Japan. SBI Holdings has been selected to issue the official Expo NFTs called Mayakun, and it will be using the XRP ledger for the NFT issuance. I'm so excited that this will give millions of visitors from all over the world an opportunity to experience the XRPL. And I thought I had this. Yeah, it's, let me refresh this page because it is in Japanese. And let's just say my Japanese isn't good and it's horrible. Let's put it in English here. But again, what else would you expect from SBI Holdings? It will provide service. Let's see, the original NFT name by SBI digital wallet nickname is Mayakun. The offer is scheduled for May of 2024, before the Osaka Kansai Expo. SBI Holdings said it will provide this service to 8.2 million people. That's a lot of damn NFTs. According to the announcement, Mayakun is issued by SBI INFT, and it will be stored and viewed at a dedicated site where SBI VC Trade will develop and provide. Mayakun, in addition to participating in the World Event and World Expo pre-event that begins before the opening, clearing the missions presented at those events, give you a variety of NFTs. Limited admission is planned for the Osaka and Kansai Expo venues where the NFT will be obtained. So I thought this is kind of cool. I think this is it, right? I think, is this it? Let me see if this is, that might be it. I don't know if that's actually it or not, but can I just say it's not as badass as the Badass Yetis, okay? I'm sorry. The Badass Yetis still rule. I'm excited about it, but maybe we can get some Badass Yetis out to some people, man. We can do a limited series Badass Yetis so people can learn the true meaning of what it means to be badass. I think that would be something fun as well. Trying to see what else we had here. Yeah, so John Deaton provided some commentary here about the library case. Let me get to this real quick. He said, let me be less polite in my remarks. Any commissioner who voted to sue library should be ashamed of themselves, but not just the commissioners, SEC enforcement lawyers who threatened to bankrupt library, and Jeremy Kauffman during the investigative stage by running up defensive costs and legal fees are an absolute disgrace. The SEC concluded that most LBC token holders did not make an investment and only acquired LBC as a utility token to access the platform. My client, Naomi Brockwell, never purchased or sold a single LBC token. She didn't even meet the first Howey factor, let alone the other factors. Yet the SEC refused to provide a no action letters or guidance, making it clear what secondary market sales were subject to SEC jurisdiction. And I also, we could have easily have been John's clients too and defendants, because On the Chain has also been on library for over 4 years, like Naomi Brockwell. Jeff and I never purchased or sold a single LBC token. So there you have it. Been on library. I'm sorry, that's weird. Did I mention we were there for 4 years? That's right. We had Jeremy Kauffman on 4 years ago, right? So again, On the Chain, always at the forefront of breaking good stuff, interesting stuff, good news out there. But yeah, we were out there breaking that. And let's just end with one video. This was I had another video, but maybe we'll save that for tomorrow night. But I want to say this, Jungle Link put this out, and this is Gary Gensler, who I call the great pretender, because when he wasn't a government official, he pretended he was big on crypto. He taught cryptocurrency at the finest points at MIT, and he was just the biggest fan of cryptocurrency until he started towing the leftist talking points and became, had to move back to the blue team, because remember, he was the bag man for the Hillary Clinton campaign, and he was the one writing those checks. And if you really want to take him down, that's how you do it. Just expose him. He wrote the checks that funded some bad stuff. That's how you do it.
Bitcoin futures and I think Ethereum futures and so forth will exist, and Bitcoin ETFs have not, and that feels a little inconsistent to me. As an observer, and I'm now in academia, but it feels a little
So as in academia, it seems weird to him that the Bitcoin, listen to it again, listen to
Ethereum
this.
futures and so forth will exist, and Bitcoin ETFs have not, and that feels a little inconsistent to me.
It does feel inconsistent to him, but that's a different story. When you are sitting there as the SEC chair, you got to toe the party, the points, right? And we got an election coming up next year, and I don't know how you vote for the left team. The left team has destroyed the economy over here. They've completely drawn up inflation. I mean, it's gotten ridiculous. You can't buy a house, 8% interest rate. I refinanced at 2.1% interest rate, right? Better times, better thinking. I don't care if you don't like the person who's the messenger, but the policies were better. They were successful. We had peace in the Middle East. We had the Abraham Accords. Everything was better and then they had these morons coming in with the Build Back Better. And what did they build back? They built back nothing. What are they looking to do? They're looking out for themselves. They're not looking out for you. That's absolutely 100% pathetic. That's all the time we have. I wanted to thank everybody for jumping in here again today and hang with me for at least an hour. For everyone that made it to the end, guys, we will be back on tomorrow night at 8 p.m. And then Wednesday night we'll be over there on Rumble. And I probably think that soon enough, as we start transitioning a lot of you over to Rumble and we start moving the crew over there, and we start on the nights that we broadcast, we tell you where we are over there on Rumble. I think we're going to move Sunday night too. We'll just do Saturday mornings on YouTube, probably Sundays and Wednesdays. We haven't decided which day yet, but I think that will have the most impact, and we like to have the most possible impact. And already with 400 people, our views are already taken off over on Rumble, and they're already getting close to what they are here. So what does that tell you? It tells me a lot. It tells me they don't like free speech on certain places, and they'll do anything to censor you. That's all I have for you guys today. Thank you, Mike. Appreciate you coming in here. Karma Carmichael. Appreciate you as always coming in here. Badasses for Congress. Absolutely. Sophie, a big supporter. Really appreciate you. Who else we have here? Kelly, been here since the beginning. Total OG. Appreciate all your commentary today. Spot on. Miguel Castillo, didn't get to your comment, and also a very good one as well, but appreciate you guys. Thank you for staying. Thank you for hanging in there. Everybody who came in here today, much love from the Chipster. We will see you guys soon. Be good. Chip and Jeff, even though he's not here, see you guys on the next one.
Are you down with OTC? Please like, subscribe, and click the bell to be notified when the next video drops.